five, and my dad was getting a PhD in psychology, and my mom was an artist and a model, and we grew up in the riots, the Vietnam riots, hiding under the benches and getting tear gassed. I remember those riots so well. And then, of course, I one day coming home from elementary school, it's Cornell Elementary School in Albany, which is kitty corner to Berkeley. There's a flying saucer up in the sky that everybody is looking at. And, an event like that was so powerful me at that age because I was a Star Trek fan and I was my favorite Martian fan. Star Trek came later, actually. But this was about 1967 or 68. I think Star Trek had already started, but I had nothing to relate it to other than the USS Enterprise. And in this exact point in our life, my mom was divorcing my real dad, and she got married to a military man, David Cooper. And so we were moving into this new house, and I lost my dad. And I'm dealing with this flying saucer, and I suddenly started having visions where I was paralyzed at night, and these ETs, which were completely human looking, were showing me the workings of the inside of their craft. And I mean, you have to understand, there's no UFO conferences back then. I told my mom, told my dad. My dad was very progressive in his day in psychology, but there was no answer. So I just had to keep it to myself and my friends, and I grew up with that. And it wasn't until the 70s, when we moved back to Vancouver, British Columbia with my real dad, that I saw on the TV the Billy Meyer case was actually on the Canadian television. And then all of a sudden I went, that's what I saw. I mean, I remember it. And so from there, going through school, taking math and physics, and I started to realize that the answers that I was looking for in life, these people didn't know. I mean, I presented a time dilation theory to my physics teacher that he said, this is Einstein. This is Einstein's, time dilation. How did you figure this out? And I just figured it out on my own. And actually, it was quite different than his time dilation because it was proportional to gravity, time dilating proportional to gravity. So with that in my background, I eventually started working for a group called the Advanced Physics Corporation in Irvine, California. We worked with Bogan Castle Magwitch, Murray Gell-Mann, Glenn Seaborg, who chaired the Atomic Energy Commission under Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon, was around us. I mean, Gell-Mann was around us. Rostocker was around us. The most brilliant physicists of our day were around me all the time. So, but my job wasn't a physicist. My job was to convert the language of physics, because I took physics, into layperson's terms and do fundraising and do military communications. So I did most of the military communications for the movement. And then because we got blocked under Clinton and Gore in the White House for government funding, and tests were done at Kirtland Air Force Base under a Major General D. Lamberson that proved this cubic reactor that Magwitch designed was going to produce 1 billion watts of super clean fusion power. This is way back in the 1990s. And there was no reason we were going to fail except for the Clinton Gore White House blocked us. They blocked us everywhere. They blocked our investors. They blocked us. They squashed us, because we were going to interfere with the military-industrial complex's vision of using nuclear power plants to breed plutonium from uranium. And once you have non-radioactive nuclear power plants everywhere, then there's no more source to get your uranium enriched into plutonium. You need enrichment to do that. So basically, that made the most sense of why they shut us down, but they blocked all of our investors personally. And meanwhile, the head of all of NASA technology was Earl Van Landingham, and I did all the communications for the company with Van Landingham. He wanted our power source because it could have changed the world. So it's funny because living in that group of people, I had access. I remember having lunch with Glenn Seaborg at the Lawrence Berkeley lab with Magwitch and telling him about my UFO sighting in about 1967 or 68. He took it very, very seriously. And basically, with 37 levels above top secret, which is what his assistant told me he had, he said, we don't have anything like that.